yep, I got goals and dreams. So they're okay. So what is what you're doing right now gonna ever get you there? And if not, what's more important to you? Going after that life that you want or settling for something dramatically less?
All right, I'm so excited today. Like, oh my God, this guy, Joey Martin, he is a rock star. I love this guy. I love his friendship. Honestly, it is my honor and privilege to get your time today to talk about a little bit about finance for couples. Those are the main topics we want to cover today. But before we dive into that, I really want to give a proper introduction of this great friend of mine. Actually, 2020, everything, went from office, brick and mortar to online. And then we, and out of nowhere, we became very good friends online. And this gentleman, has a baby of two beautiful princesses. And the fact that, we just connected right away and we, share ideas and all that stuff. And then right away that evening, the first time we talked, you say, you're in Boston, right? I mean, whenever you come to New York, you have my couch. Or now, because of the fact that I upgraded myself, I get the whole basement now, which is a great thing. So
I was initially thinking about like a little corner, but now you could have the whole basement, Ricky. It's all good.
Yeah, just because, we really built this strong connection. Like, we met like a couple weeks ago at a huge company event. And then, we are all, social distance safe and with mask on and everything. But, this guy is like one of the nicest men you can meet from New York, honestly. Like, it's hard to say that about people in New York, but, this guy is awesome. He's hailing from Long Island, New York, the MVP of the New York State, my good friend, Joey Martin! Yeah! And first thing first, I mean, I really, before knowing you like a lot better, right? You're very fond of this animal, the rhino. Can you talk about why you actually choose your team name and your whole like logo, everything to be the team Rhino, actually?
It's well, thanks for having me, Rick. It's I know we've been talking about this for a little while, and I'm glad that we're able to make it happen. You being so busy, my schedule being wild as well. All right, so do you want the short version or do you want the long version?
Yeah, if it's too long, I will be able to cut it shorter. So don't worry. All
right, fine. So I would say my background was never in business. It was in a lot of other things. It was in law enforcement. It was in the nightclub industry. I had a background in a lot of different strange things that never seemed to have gone together, but they did in my world at least. And when I got into business 7 years ago, it wasn't easy. I thought I was going to come in, I was going to crush it. I had been competitive in my life and played sports. And I came in and it was like a couple months in, I'm like, dang it, man. Like people saying no to me, people quitting on me. The people around me, like just not as supportive as I thought they'd be. And it was random because my sister recommended me this book, and I had never read books before I got into business. I don't know.
I mean, it's actually quite true. It's true.
If I'm going to be honest, I thought people who read books all belonged to book clubs and they were all nerds and that's all they did on the weekends and whatever. That was my small-minded thinking years ago. But my sister recommended me this book, and I always have it right by my side, and it's called Rhinoceros Success. It's by Scott Alexander. It's written in 1981, which is the year I was born. So there's so many consistencies. And in the book, it resonated with me at the time because I was going through adversity and I thought about quitting. I thought about giving up. I thought about throwing in the towel. And if it wasn't for this book and understanding that rhinoceros have thick skin and rhinoceros are always charging, they always go. So adversity doesn't affect them because of their thick skin. And rhinoceros are always going toward their next goal. And they're not cows. Cows just kind of linger around each other, don't really expect much of themselves. Not rhinoceros. Rhinoceros go, they charge, they're always reaching their next goals. And they're also one of the most loyal creatures in the jungle. And another reason I read this book is because it's really thin. It's got some pictures in it. It's pretty interesting.
It's a good intro book, right? Basically.
Phenomenal intro book, and I've taken Rhino and I've charged with it, no pun intended, for the last 6 years, I would say. And we've created a culture around Rhino and people being proud and representing, and lots of loyalty and teamwork and camaraderie and great energy. And it's been really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, if, I guess a lot of the audience wouldn't know, but what happened in 2020, year 2020, I did some homework, right? A lot of people suffer, a lot of people, took a step back, and a lot of people are like, shivering, like stay in their own house and like worrying about what's going on and don't know what to do with themselves. But this guy, this business leader, even though he's like only 6 years young in the business, this guy doubled his team size, more than double his team size, and in terms of production, in terms of the revenue bringing in, is like almost double his revenue. So I mean, we check numbers. So we, and the great thing about our businesses, we are in business together, is the fact that we are everything. A lot of things is based on trust and transparency, and we are very transparent. And the fact that if you don't do well, people will see. But the fact that you are doing well and you're becoming the MVP of the state means that you of course you are hustling, and that's what it means, right? Even from your background of like doing all these other things about like in the law enforcement, in the nightclub, and the entertainment industry, emceeing for weddings and all that kind of stuff. Those are building up your skills. Sure. But also those are like building up your hustle, right? Your the fact that you are hardworking and all that stuff, and then just channeling all that energy into this great business. And 2020, basically the moment we pivot and we turn everything online, then you just turn it on, and then boom, it's like your entire team basically moved up together, right?
I definitely can't take credit for that. It was a team effort, and that's a lot of people never really understand our business, and it's because they're so close-minded, and most people are by nature cynical, and that's just unfortunate for them. But I understood that this was a team business, and I always belonged to teams growing up. I played sports, and when I was on the job as a policeman, I'm like, man, it's me against everybody else. There's like no camaraderie, really. Like no one's helping each other. There's nothing to fight for to go win. And when I found this, when I got introduced here, it was super random by an old buddy of mine. I had very little skepticism. I was a little bit skeptical in the beginning, just like most people, like it, because it was different. And I knew nothing about money or finance. And I realized really quickly that I can build. I could pick, choose, and select the people with whom I want to associate and be in business and in life with and go win with. And now a part of our organization, we have people who are, everything from around the sun. We have professional athletes, we have people who are in sales, and we have restaurant bartenders and servers and firemen and policemen and medical device salespeople. And my gosh, I get social workers galore. I can go on for days. So our numbers weren't a reflection of me. It was a reflection of the team coming together. But what I saw in 2020, and not just for our business, but in business in general, was 2020 was a time for people to rise, leaders to rise. And, you look around a company, Rick, you see it. Some people rose to the occasion and expanded and grew, and some people fell flat. And if I could be honest with you, I was actually running from the fear of going backwards. I was running, it wasn't necessarily running toward the success this year, I guess you can say. It was running from the fear of being one of those people that didn't grow when I was taught that in a time of true and major adversity, that's where the real winners and leaders grow and take charge.
Exactly, yeah.
And if I'm going to be honest with you, it's because I have really good leadership. I followed my leader's tail, man. I was holding on to his coattails, Brian Batter, as much as I could. And I stayed as aligned with him as I could, and I communicated with him as much as I could. And then all I did was I did the orchestration, and our team all came together in true Rhino fashion. It's freaking awesome. Really awesome.
No, I mean, this is a great story, and like many different like MVPs experience the same thing. The fact that you are very upfront and honest about the fact that you just didn't want to be left behind, actually it propelled you to like jump forward, which is a great thing. And one other question before we actually jump into our main topic is, you talk about Brian, he's a great guy, like handsome dude, and and a great family man and everything. And, he's funny as hell. Like, we talk about that. And one of the first discussion and conversation you and I had was the fact that he changed your life. Can you talk about that question that he asked you during your first interview?
You have a good memory, Rick. Really good memory.
Homework.
It was May of 2014, and I was sitting in a little, it must have been like an 8x8 little conference room space. It was me and one other guest to see what the story's company was all about. The projector was on, so like the fan was piping out really hot air. It was hot in there.
I remember.
Right? And Brian's a tall man, and he was so excited in this small room. And I'm thinking, this guy's going to sweat, man, because he was excited. And as he's going through it, I'm taking notes, like copious note taking. I'm like writing as fast as I could. I wanted to learn. I knew nothing about money, so I figured this was my shot to learn.
Great.
And he asked me a question, and I reflected on it over my whole career, and it's changed the way I view things. And he says to me, he's like, Joey, you have dreams, you have goals, things you want to be able to obtain in your life. So I sat for a second, and I started thinking. And I've always been somewhat of a big thinker, and I'm like, man, I'd love to have a big ass house.
Were you married at the time, by the way?
Single, very single. And singling and mingling, if you'll want to call it that. 32 years old, and it was 2014, and I always wanted big things. I wanted big cars, I wanted fast cars, I wanted houses, I wanted the tangible stuff that I saw all around me that I never made enough money to go chase.
Sure.
And so I'm like, yep, I got goals and dreams. So he's like, okay. So what is what you're doing right now gonna ever get you there? And if not, what's more important to you? Going after that life that you want, or settling for something dramatically less? I tell you, Rick, it was boom. It was like I got hit with a ton of bricks. It was almost like that light bulb went off on top of my head, and it was a wake-up call for me. And I think it was the wake-up call because I had been so disillusioned to think that I was really putting the work in to really go chase my goals and dreams when I was never in a profession that was going to make me enough money. I had 3 jobs at once, but I still had 0 in a savings account. So I wasn't delusional to think like, yeah, I'm going to get there one day. Like, yeah, optimism is one thing, but reality may be another.
Sure. Yeah.
I got smacked with reality. And it was from that day on, I just chose and I made decisions that was going to lead me instead of this way. It was going to lead me this way. And here we are. And we could talk about quality life later, but life has never been greater because of that.
Yeah. And quite honestly, this is like this wake up call thing that you just mentioned is I think it's more liberating than most like that money can buy, honestly. The fact that you're like, oh, like this is actually possible, right? I mean, instead of like, being stuck in where you've been, like you're doing 3 jobs at once at the same time, being single and happening, whatever we call it, right? And it's joy. Maybe you get money and you get to spend that and, get drunk and, have some like, instantaneous or like temporary joy, happiness. But it's not free. You don't have that freedom, the feeling of freedom. Whereas now, right, we are business owner now that to the point, hey, like if we want to make money, we actually have the freedom to basically say, go after it.
Yeah.
And of course, we should always go after it, like, the way that you do your rhino thing, right? But am I right? Do you agree with the fact that, this?
I think that there's been 2 things that has really solidified my hustle, my hard work, my sacrifice to win. And listen, by no means are we where we want to be. We want to grow tremendously. My wife and I, our team, our family, maybe we'll see. We want to grow, but I would say there's 2 major moments in which I'm so glad I made the decisions that I made 6 and 7 years ago. And it was when my wife was first pregnant with my first daughter, Juliana. And it was 2018. 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, don't get the dates wrong.
I got to remember for a minute. It was 2018, and I went to her first visit with her to the doctor. Do you remember when you went to the doctor with your wife, to the OB?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the woman started doing a sonogram, and I started seeing like this little peanut, starting to, and like my whole body got chills when I saw that. And after that moment, we went to the nurse's station, and the nurse was talking to my wife about scheduling the next like 5 appointments. And every moment she'd say, okay, well, how does this date work? And she look at me. I'm like, that's fine. How about this date? That's fine. How about this date? That's fine too. I said, you don't have to ask me. And right at that moment, I'm like, man, I'm so happy that I was willing to sacrifice, has to be the best word. I might have missed a couple things. I might have been late to a couple things because I was working hard in business to grow. But it allowed me the freedom to be there with my wife and never miss a sonogram with my unborn baby. That was my first. Second is more recent. My daughter, Juliana, she's a little over 2, and she started going to this little program. It's like 2 days a week, 3 hours a day, Mondays and Fridays. Starts at 9 a.m. in the morning and ends at like 11ish or so. And I think if I was on a job as a policeman, I'd have to ask my boss if I can come in late. I'd have to take the day off. I'd have to rearrange my schedule. But what do we have to do as business people? I don't have to ask anybody else. You see, that price right there in and of itself, having to ask another man for a day off, I gave that up. I shed that old skin.
Yeah.
And the fact that, man, she just gets me fired up because it's got me so passionate, and I wish other people could believe in themselves enough that they can get to this place in life. And I'm not saying we're at the end again, but get at least to this place. Believe in yourself that you can get to this place, and then you can control every single aspect of your life. Too many people give it up to an employer. Too many people give it up.
Yeah, and great story. I feel the same way. I'm feeling the same thing, as you can tell. I have a young baby at home, and whenever I want to take a video with him and all that stuff, I want to see him grow. I want to see him walk. I can do all of that, which is like, I just want to bring up a quote by Kevin O'Leary. I think it's Kevin O'Leary, who said that employers, the employee mindset that you just mentioned, employers actually pay you enough money for you to give up on your dreams. Right? And that's how we get fired up on a daily basis, right? It's like, bam, that was awesome, wasn't it? I knew Joey would bring it. So if you have not catch my talk with Oge, you can watch it here. All right, and don't forget, let's connect, let's partner up, let's build your fantastic retirement and family legacy together.